She has pretty strong views that are pretty one-ended about how the system works, and I'm a moderate. I'm a guy who tries to work on getting solutions done. I think you'll see a real contrast in style between the two of us.
He has proven in the 8 years he's been in the legislature that he marches to the drum of Frank Chop and his caucus instead of looking at where the district is coming out.
I have a strong body of work over the last 8 years. I'm one of the most respected legislators on education policy issues. I'm one of the most respected legislators on understanding how the budget does and making hard budget decisions. And you know, people make whatever decision they make. I'm going to stand on my body of work. I'm the finance chairman. My job is to manage legislation that's about revenue and finance issues, and I did that this year, and I'm actually pretty good at it. So when we looked at needed revenue, we focused on, certainly my proposal focused on closing corporate tax loopholes, particularly loopholes that were from out of state.
I think the governor took a good step today when she recognized that the budget that was proposed by Ross Hunter isn't going to work. She recognized they do not have enough money. That budget was built on sand and that is quickly falling away from underneath them.
We have about a $2.7 billion budget shortfall. It's important to know how those numbers come up, because it's not like, oh, the legislature will be in the hole next year by that much. No. There's a whole bunch of laws in place that say you have to fund these things that you're not funding now. So you peel those things back, and all of a sudden you're looking at a much more reasonable budget situation. We didn't fund them this year. We had to take a vote that says we're going to overturn that law. They're in the law to be funded in the future. So we either repeal those. Those add up to about $2 billion of the 2.7. I don't think that anyone's going to raise a significant amount of revenue next year, regardless of whether we have the two-thirds vote requirement, because I just don't think it's going to happen.
In 2007, Brian Sontag, our state auditor, did an audit. That audit concluded that there were savings of $100 million alone. Not one single recommendation has been adopted by this legislature. And if Ross Hunter was serious in the 8 years he has been in the legislature of bringing sanity to the budget, he would have done something or recommended, but he did not. For over 20 years, Republicans have been talking about education reform, and the other side have refused to acknowledge this Obama administration, to their credit, have made some recommendations and changes to education, looking at charter schools, looking at merit pay, looking at what we do in the classrooms. Those are really important issues that we have to look at.
What we did this year was we did a couple of key changes in ed reform. Part of the race to the top, we extended the amount of time that a new teacher is on board before they get tenure, and it's more difficult to fire them.
This state needs to get off the track it's been on, which hasn't been helping our children. They are the most important thing we have, and we need to remember that we have to encourage their growth in the education system for all children, and a thoughtful review of that. I think merit pay is a great idea. Why would it not be a good idea? The private sector has that when you look at the private sector. Why should we assume that just because you've been a teacher forever that you're doing a good job? Ultimately, it's not about protecting someone's job if they're not doing a good job. It's about our kids.
I have a lot of work to do on the intersection of funding and accountability in education. I want to make sure that as we come out of this horrific downturn, that our education investments, we're going to grow our education investment, but that's tied to making sure that we grow it in smart ways.
We need need to bring people back that have good, common, practical solutions. Common sense. If you don't have common sense, you can be the smartest person in the world. If you don't have any common sense, if you don't understand the hurt and pain that people are in, then I say you don't get it. And you need to change.
Do you think that the Republicans already in Olympia get it? I mean, have they been behaving appropriately?
Well, I don't think the issue should be on the Republicans in Olympia. They don't run anything. They've never even been consulted on the budget.
I've done significant work, and I've done work that worked with Republicans, that worked with Democrats, that worked with people from Seattle, that worked with people from the East Side, that worked with people from all over the state, try and build an agenda that worked for everyone.
The incumbent talks about compromising, but he isn't compromised with the Republicans. He doesn't reach across the aisle. He reaches only within his own party. That is not compromise. That is not even listening to other viewpoints. So when you ask, do the Republicans even get it? And well, how do you get it? How do you participate in finding decisions when you're not even asked?
Are you afraid you're gonna, if elected, you'll get down to Olympia though, and nobody's gonna ask you?
Well, I hope that people will ask, and if they don't, I intend to have my voice heard.